Let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me...
Toukiden 2, the successor to Toukiden Age of Demons and Toukiden Kiwami, has been known as one of the better Monster Hunter clones. With a good variety of weapons and armors in the past, as well as a healthy amount of monsters to kill, Toukiden 2 holds promise for fans of the hunting genre. I recently tried the demo for Toukiden 2, downloaded from the Japanese PlayStation Store, and here are my first impressions. You start off by making your character, and while there is an impressive amount of freedom to really make them look however you want, it's sort of mute. You're never really going to see your character's face, as most of the armors tend to hide it in some sort of way, and a lot of the finer details are masked out by horrendous texturing. I wouldn't spend much time on this other than to set the color of your hair and really the scale of your body. You then move on to the game's main hub, the town. It's quite large, but mostly vacant in the demo. There are guards patrolling certain dead ends, leading me to think there's going to be a lot to unlock and progress in. Hopefully, that means a healthy story. Age of Demons didn't struggle too much keeping my interest outside of hunts, so I'm pretty hopeful here. However, the town is one of the main examples of the game's inconsistent frame rate and stuttering. Almost every time I walked through it, I found my game stuttering or lagging, which is ironic because even in the heat of battle with an overwhelming amount of special effects going on, the game didn't have any problems keeping up. Regardless, you'll find pretty standard things here: blacksmith, item merchant, your own house with storage, and the Matama lady. For those that don't know, as I won't be getting too in-depth here, Matamas are a special equipment item that is the soul of an ancient warrior. There are many different types of them, focusing on different things like attack, speed, healing, or scavenging, and the amount of depth that has been put in them this time around is extremely exciting. They've definitely improved upon the system, and I cannot wait to understand it better, as everything was in Japanese, so I struggle with that a little bit. The blacksmith is pretty straightforward. You can improve, craft new, or sell equipment. However, one thing that really bothered me is that you can't view the cosmetic appearance of any new items, and that's honestly something that a lot of fashion hunters are going to struggle to get past. Upon leaving the town is where the game really starts to change from past installments. The game is now open world, if you will. There are still plenty of restrictions on where you can go, but it is essentially free roam. You'll encounter main monster bosses that you can kill for parts, small creatures, side quests, and even other AI in desperate need of your help. The demo did keep you on a mostly linear path until you got your footing, which was pretty nice, but then the world did start to open up. I never fully understood how this concept worked though, as there are teleportation stones scattered throughout the world, but in order to use them, certain qualifications had to be met, most likely defeating a large boss in the area or helping out a few AR. Regardless, I really enjoyed the aspect of it and I think it's going to work pretty well. You can still choose to do regular hunts from the town hall, one of these will simply transport you to a closed area somewhere in the open world. This is something I sort of had to get used to, as usually you have to spend time looking for the main monster or chasing them as they run away. This does, however, mean quicker missions, which isn't a bad thing, but it does seem to take away a little bit from the experience of a true hunt. You can, of course, take 3 comrades with you on most missions, and with the addition of 3 new weapons on top of the already eclectic roster, your group should vary quite substantially. The new weapons in the demo were the sword and shield, my personal favorite, and the chain whip. They work extremely well, being different from the well-balanced weapons of the past, and yet easy enough for you to pick up and use. The main new mechanic in Toukiden 2, however, is the grapple. Holding R2 will enter your character into a static stance holding an aura-like claw. You can attach this claw to trees or enemies and rush towards them. While the range isn't substantial, it can be useful to close the gap or maneuver different heights. However, I found that while using it on most monsters, it is practically useless. Perhaps there is a better way to use it through some button combination I didn't discover due to the translation barrier, but I found that every time I tried to use it to attack an Oni, I would simply soar into the air way above them, completely offsetting any plan I had of attacking where I intended to grapple to. That combined with the horrendous camera angles when traversing 3D space made me cringe every time I thought about using the grapple. There are some other uses for the grapple, however. You can attach it to an Oni and actually pull them to the ground. Now, I still don't know exactly how this is done, but I was able to do it a few times. Let me tell you, that is a game changer. So long as it can't be abused, which I don't think it can be at the moment, it is exactly what Age of Demons really needed for certain weapon classes. You can also use the grapple to grab elemental spirits in the world. For instance, there's a fire elemental in the world, and I was able to grab it and either throw it at the enemy to do elemental damage, or apply it to my weapon for a set amount of time. And while this is a cool feature, I rarely found any other elements lying around, and I pretty much forgot about it. Outside of the town, the graphics felt like a true improvement, and while the environments were a little dark and repetitive, I wasn't distracted by anything. The draw distance is something that will take some getting used to, as I constantly viewed Oni popping in and out, but overall, I enjoyed running through the world. All in all, I really like the direction in which Toukiden 2 is moving. I feel like it still needs some polishing, especially with some graphical stuttering and camera angles, but the core gameplay is there. It's definitely a step in the right direction for the Toukiden series, but I'm not sure it's really getting all the previous issues worked out. That being said, it'll still be a great hunting game, and I think those who are into that genre won't be disappointed.